The human ship Odyssey drifted near the edge of the ethereal expanse, its engines low hum the only sound in the vast emptiness of space. Captain Jerk Lorne adjusted the controls, scanning the debris field that floated like frozen ghosts around a shattered alien cruiser. Most species avoided this region, calling it cursed, but for a salvage crew like his, danger meant opportunity. Humans had long been ignored by the Galactic Union. They were seen as expendable, weak, and slow. Jerk didn't mind. They weren't here to impress anyone, they were here to survive and maybe to profit. The wreck was enormous, its hull twisted like metal paper, sparks dancing along fissures. Jerk's sensors picked up a faint life sign. He frowned, narrowing his eyes. Life, out here. Few species survived crashes like this. The readings were weak, almost fading into the background radiation, but unmistakable. "Captain, it's alive," murmured Kale, his first officer, a human raised on the edges of Union space. He hesitated, knowing what Jerk was thinking. "It's alien, sir." Most humans would have ignored it. Most humans didn't risk their ships for something the Union would probably confiscate anyway. But Jerk wasn't most humans. "Prepare a retrieval pod," he said, his voice steady. "We're bringing it aboard." The T-Car were one of the dominant species in the sector, tall, armored, and proud. They considered humans beneath notice, but that didn't matter now. "Life comes first," he said finally. "No one survives alone out here." Jerk and Kale watched from the command deck, holding their breath as the pod navigated shattered corridors. The life sign flickered, barely coherent. And then they saw her. She was small, delicate, and barely conscious. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing under the pod lights, and her large eyes fluttered weakly. The T-Car had ridged foreheads, elegant yet terrifying, even in youth. She was nothing like the warlike adults they'd seen on the news. In that moment, she was just a child. "Pull her out, Kale," Jerk ordered, his voice quiet. "Carefully." Recognition even in the briefest flash. "She's looking at me," Kale whispered. "Sir, species like hers, they don't even acknowledge humans." The girl's breathing was shallow, and small wounds dotted her arms and legs. Her species' blood shimmered faintly under the medical lights. Jerk had never seen anything like it. "Get her stabilized," he said firmly. "Now." The crew worked tirelessly, monitoring her vitals, administering alien-appropriate medications, and even trying to understand her physiology through holographic guides. The girl remained unconscious, occasionally twitching as if fighting off nightmares. Jerk stayed nearby, watching, reading old human texts about duty and responsibility. Most humans would have shrugged and moved on. Not him. By the next day, she awoke, slowly, cautiously. Her large eyes scanned the room, taking in the humans, the strange lights, and the humming machinery. She seemed frightened but not hostile. That surprised Jerk. The T-Car were known for fierce loyalty and even fiercer suspicion of outsiders. "Easy, you're safe," Jerk said, keeping his tone soft. "We won't hurt you." Her voice came out in soft, musical tones, alien yet oddly understandable thanks to the translator implants the Odyssey carried. "Why help?" "Expectation." There was a moment of stillness, the weight of understanding heavy in the room. Even Kale, who had seen humans interact with dozens of species, looked on in awe. But the peace didn't last. Sensors picked up the approach of a T-Car retrieval ship, massive and armed, moving with precision. They would not ignore this rescue. "Captain," Kale said, tension creeping into his voice. "They'll want her back. They'll consider this theft." "This child belongs to us," the leader said in a cold, resonant voice. "You have no right." "We were doing what was right." Yet here she was, defying centuries of tradition. The humans didn't fully understand what she had done, but they respected it. Jerk simply said, "Then she stays." The girl stayed by his side, her eyes flicking between the humans and her people. She didn't fully understand why they risked so much for her, but she could feel it. Humans protected those they saved. That simple truth resonated deeply within her, setting a spark that would not easily be extinguished. Hours passed, discussions escalating into tense standoffs. Jerk and his crew had no ships powerful enough to fight the T-Car if they decided to enforce their claim. But they had something the aliens did not expect: human determination and an understanding of loyalty. "Captain," Kale whispered, watching the girl, "why does she trust us so quickly?" "We fight for people. That terrifies them." She didn't speak much, but every glance, every movement showed her absorbing human behavior. She would learn quickly, adapt quickly, and in time might show her people a side of humanity they had never considered. That humans, though underestimated, were capable of loyalty, courage, and an unwavering sense of morality. As the Odyssey set course for a nearby safe haven, Jerk allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had been dismissed by the galaxy countless times, treated as weak and inconsequential. But here, in this moment, a single act of mercy had started something that no one, alien or human, would forget. And the girl, small and fragile yet determined, was the first witness to it. Jerk didn't know what the future held, but he understood this. Saving a life, even one that seemed insignificant to others, was never truly wasted. And sometimes it could change the course of the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and with the alien girl at his side, Jerk felt the first stirrings of a story no one had dared to imagine. A story where humanity's greatest strength wasn't in weapons or ships, but in their refusal to leave anyone behind. The Odyssey moved steadily through the quiet reaches of space, the alien girl seated quietly on the medbay bench, her pale blue skin glowing faintly in the soft lights. She studied the humans around her, watching how they moved, how they spoke, and how they interacted. Each gesture, each tone of voice seemed to carry meaning beyond the surface. The humans were strange. They helped each other without question, they joked even in danger, and they risked themselves for strangers. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. "Are you always like this?" she asked softly, her voice musical and slow, testing the words. Jerk, standing nearby, looked at her calmly. "Like what?" "We humans measure worth differently. Life is life, it matters." The door to the medbay hissed open, and Kale stepped in, carrying a tray of food. "Try to eat something," he said gently. "You need strength if you're going to recover. No one gets left behind here." As the days passed, the girl began moving around the ship, learning its routines, observing the crew, and mimicking human behaviors. She watched how Jerk interacted with his crew, how he corrected mistakes without anger, how he laughed at small failures and celebrated small victories. Each observation added to her understanding. Humans were resilient, unpredictable, and most importantly, loyal to each other without formal rules. Yet her peace was fragile. Communications from the T-car grew more urgent, more demanding. Messages flooded the Odyssey, insisting on her immediate return. The crew monitored them carefully. The T-car were powerful, and Jerk knew that ignoring them entirely would eventually force conflict. One day, as the girl was practicing moving cargo with the ship's robotic arms, an urgent alarm flashed on the main console. Jerk and Kale rushed to the bridge. "It's them," Kale said grimly. "The T-car are sending a patrol to intercept us. They won't take no for an answer, even from them." The Odyssey's sensors flared red as the patrol ship's weapons locked onto them. The alien girl stood beside Jerk on the bridge, silent, watching the unfolding drama. She understood something now. Humans did not back down. They did not negotiate out of fear. They stood firm, even against impossible odds. The T-car leader appeared on the view screen, his armored form filling the frame. His voice was cold, precise, and commanding. "Return the child immediately, Captain Lorne. You have no claim over her life. Compliance is required." Humans did not argue endlessly. They stated their position and relied on action to defend it. There was certainty, honesty, and courage in their words, qualities her own people valued but rarely exhibited without ceremony. The T-car leader's eyes narrowed. "She does not belong here. Your species is insignificant. This act will be remembered." They were wards, tools, extensions of the family's or clan's will. Her declaration was more than disobedience. It was a challenge to tradition itself. "What do you mean?" the T-car leader demanded. The girl straightened. "I owe my life to him. I will not leave him." Life, debt, honor, obligation, these were all concepts the T-car understood. But the depth of meaning, the personal and voluntary commitment she expressed, stunned them. It was one thing to follow orders. It was another to bind oneself willingly to another being because of loyalty and gratitude. Jerk placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "She stays." "That's final." Messages of persuasion, promises of reward, veiled threats. They tried everything to reclaim her without direct conflict. Each time the girl refused. She studied the humans around her and learned more about their resilience. She saw how they worked together, how they shared burdens, and how they never abandoned someone under their protection. The lessons were clear, and she absorbed them quickly, mimicking behaviors, noting strategies, and understanding the underlying principle. Humans fight for people, not power. One evening, as the ship floated near a small, uninhabited planet, the girl approached Jerk quietly. "Why do you protect me?" she asked. Jerk looked at her, eyes tired but steady. "Because I promised I would," he said. "Because it's the right thing to do." Because humans don't leave someone behind. The T-car continued their surveillance, but the girl's decision had created a dilemma they hadn't anticipated. She had the right to choose, but their culture did not allow it. They could not take her without conflict, and yet they could not accept her defiance. Jerk and his crew, meanwhile, prepared quietly, knowing confrontation could come at any moment, but they trusted each other. They trusted the girl, and they were humans bound by their unique strength, the unwillingness to abandon someone who had been saved. The girl began helping on the ship in small ways, learning navigation, maintenance, and medical routines. She observed human interactions, noting the subtle ways they resolved conflicts, encouraged each other, and shared burdens. She began to see herself as part of something larger than herself, something she had never experienced among the T-car, a community where every life mattered, not because of rank, status, or usefulness, but simply because it was alive. Kale noticed her growing awareness. "She's learning fast," he said one evening to Jerk. "Faster than any alien I've ever met." "Humans teach by example," he said, "not by force. She'll understand that loyalty is stronger than any weapon, and one day her people will see it too." When the T-car sent another patrol ship weeks later, the humans were ready. They didn't attack, but they held their ground, their ships maneuvering with precision and care. The girl watched from the bridge, heart steady, confidence growing. She was not just surviving, she was participating. She was making decisions. She was proving that one life, saved by human hands, could defy expectations and challenge the might of an entire species. As the Odyssey continued its journey, the girl realized something profound. Humans were terrifyingly powerful, not because of their weapons, but because of their loyalty, their courage, and their refusal to abandon what they saved. She felt the thread of connection grow stronger with each passing day, binding her to Jerk, Kale, and the crew. She did not yet understand the full consequences of her choice, but she didn't fear them. Humans had taught her that some things were worth standing for, no matter the odds. And for the first time in her young life, she knew she was standing with someone who would never let her fall. The Odyssey drifted through the dark stretch of space, its hull glinting faintly in the light of distant stars. The alien girl sat quietly in the observation deck, her legs dangling over the edge of the bench, eyes fixed on the stars outside. She had learned a lot since she had first opened her eyes aboard the human ship. She had learned how to stabilize minor injuries, how to move cargo, how to operate simple equipment. But most of all, she had learned about humans, their courage, their stubbornness, and their strange, unwavering loyalty to one another. Jerk stood nearby, leaning against the rail, watching her. "You've changed a lot since you arrived," he said quietly. She turned to him, tilting her head. "I understand more. Humans protect, they do not abandon. That's how humans survive." They demanded her return, citing laws, traditions, and obligations that humans didn't understand. The Odyssey intercepted each transmission, and Jerk read them carefully, his jaw tight. "They don't realize what they've started," Kale said, his voice low, as they sat in the navigation room studying the messages. "They think this is a simple retrieval. They don't get that she's made a choice. And once a human is involved, they never give up." Unlike previous patrols, this one was composed not only of soldiers, but of diplomats, scholars, and elders, representatives of the girl's people, intent on reclaiming her without bloodshed. The ship's sensors alerted the crew hours before the docking. "Prepare for them," Jerk said calmly. "No threats unless they make one first. Remember, we're not fighting for dominance. We're fighting for her right to choose. She is the property of her clan until she reaches maturity. Your interference is unacceptable. I will not leave. But I choose him. He saved me. I owe him." "She's challenging them and they don't know how to respond," he said to Jerk. Jerk nodded. "Humans are strange like that. We don't fight for rules. We fight for people. That's what unsettles them." The girl listened quietly, absorbing every word, every tactic, and every time she refused. "I stay," she said each time, her voice firm. "I stay with him. I owe my life to him. You are defying your people, your culture, your very laws." Hours turned into days. The T-car attempted subtler tactics, sending messages meant to sway her emotionally, to appeal to her sense of duty. They reminded her of family, of heritage, of honor. Each time she considered the words, then looked at Jerk and the humans around her, and her choice remained the same. Humans did not need ceremony to honor promises. They did not need contracts to measure loyalty. They acted because it was right. That simple truth was alien to the T-car, but to the girl it made perfect sense. In the meantime, the humans continued their routines. The crew treated her as part of the team, involving her in repairs, navigation exercises, and even minor tactical simulations. She learned quickly, mimicking human movements, absorbing not only their skills but their approach to life, careful planning, mutual respect, and above all, unwavering support for those they considered allies. The T-Car delegation, watching from observation rooms, grew increasingly agitated. Their people had never encountered a human's dedication, nor a child's voluntary defiance. Every day aboard the Odyssey demonstrated a new aspect of humanity. Humans acted with courage without seeking recognition, they protected without seeking reward, and they faced danger without hesitation when it was for someone they cared about. Finally, the delegation called a private meeting with the girl. Alone in a small chamber, the elder spoke, her voice cold but measured. "You are destroying the balance of your culture. You risk everything, status, family, future. Do you understand what you are doing?" "It is human." Outside the chamber, Jerk watched from the bridge, sensing the shift. The T-Car delegation had underestimated humans, and the consequences would soon ripple across the galaxy. Over the next several days, the girl's influence on the ship became evident. She helped plan minor repairs, offered insights into alien technology that humans would never have noticed, and began to anticipate problems before they arose. The crew came to rely on her presence, not because she was required to help, but because her insight and understanding made them stronger. The T-Car delegation sent more envoys, but each time the results were the same. The girl refused to leave, her loyalty unshakable. Jerk and the crew acted as one, defending her without aggression, demonstrating restraint and strategy. They were humans, loyal, clever, and determined. Their reputation was quietly spreading through observation channels, even reaching distant sectors where rumors of human courage and moral strength traveled faster than any fleet. The girl, standing on the observation deck one night, looked out at the stars. She thought of her people, her family, her culture. She had risked dishonor, yes, but she had gained something more valuable: freedom, understanding, and a bond with humans that transcended any law or expectation. Jerk approached quietly. "Thinking about them?" he asked. She shook her head slightly. "Thinking about humans, about how they fight for each other, how they protect. I want to understand more. And someday others will understand too. Some already do. You've changed the way your people see the galaxy, even if they don't know it yet." They did not fight for power, for politics, or for glory. They fought for people. And once humans decided to protect someone, nothing, not law, not weapons, not threats, could sway them. The girl understood this now. She had seen it in the eyes of Jerk, Kale, and every member of the crew, and she had chosen to be part of it. As the Odyssey moved toward the outer rim, carrying both human and alien lives, the girl realized something profound. She was no longer just a child of the T-Car. She was a witness, a participant, and a link in the chain of humanity's quiet but unstoppable influence. She had made a choice, and that choice was already beginning to reshape her world. And in that realization, she felt something entirely new: confidence, courage, determination. She would not abandon those who had saved her. She would stand by them, no matter the consequences, because humans had shown her the meaning of loyalty. And loyalty, she understood, was the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. The Odyssey cut through the dark void of space, its engines a steady hum beneath the deck. Stars streaked past as if racing to keep pace with the ship, but inside the tension was palpable. The alien girl moved quietly among the crew, observing, learning, and occasionally offering suggestions that seemed impossible but always worked. Her understanding of human behavior had deepened. She no longer saw humans as fragile creatures. She saw them as relentless, unpredictable, and terrifyingly loyal. Jerk stood on the bridge, scanning the star charts. "They're mobilizing," Kale said, his voice low. "The T-Car are sending multiple patrols. They're coordinating with other factions in the sector. This isn't just about her anymore. They're testing us." "They prepare for conflict," she said softly. "I see it in their signals." Scouts from the T-Car flitted at the edges of sensor range, testing, probing, waiting for a moment of weakness. They broadcast messages demanding the girl's return, threatening consequences for humans who interfered. Each threat was precise, calculated, and cold. The Odyssey's crew responded not with aggression but with preparation. They strengthened shields, refined maneuvers, and trained for possible boarding attempts. They did not attack. They did not provoke. They simply stood ready, united by loyalty and purpose. The girl observed all of it, absorbing the human approach. She saw the difference between calculation and courage, between fear and determination. She saw that humans did not act for recognition or reward. They acted because it was right, and right now defending her choice was the right thing. One evening, as the Odyssey passed near a nebula, the T-car escalated. A small fleet appeared on the sensors, sleek and deadly, weapons pointed with precision. Their leader communicated directly. "Return her now," the voice rang through the ship's speakers. "Failure to comply will be met with force." "You are insignificant. We are inevitable." "We can survive," she said softly. "I will help." The crew moved with synchronization, responding instantly to every threat. It was a dance of life and strategy, each move a demonstration of human ingenuity and coordination. The girl watched in awe. They are not afraid," she whispered, "even when outnumbered." That is the difference. Finally, the T-car realized they could not intimidate humans with sheer force. They were forced to retreat temporarily, regrouping at a distance. The girl felt a surge of pride. Humans didn't rely on fear or rules. They relied on each other, and they never abandoned someone who had been saved. In the aftermath, the Odyssey's crew celebrated quietly, not with triumph, but with relief. Every life aboard was safe. The girl approached Jerk, her eyes bright. "We survived together." Some species began to watch humans differently. Some began to respect them. Others began to fear them. The girl, standing on the observation deck at night, looked at the stars. She thought of her people, her culture, and the traditions she had defied. But she also thought of humans, their courage, their unity, their loyalty. She understood now that humans were not weak. They were not insignificant. They were terrifyingly strong in a way her people could not yet grasp. Jerk approached quietly. "Thinking about them?" he asked. She shook her head. "Thinking about humans, about how they fight for each other, how they protect. I want to understand more. You've changed the way your people see the galaxy, even if they don't know it yet." And once humans decided to protect someone, nothing, not law, not weapons, not threats, could sway them. The girl understood this now. She had seen it in the eyes of Jerk, Kale, and every member of the crew, and she had chosen to be part of it. As the Odyssey moved toward the outer rim, carrying both human and alien lives, the girl realized something profound. She was no longer just a child of the T-car. She was a witness, a participant, and a link in the chain of humanity's quiet but unstoppable influence. She had made a choice, and that choice was already beginning to reshape her world. And in that realization, she felt something entirely new: confidence, courage, determination. She would not abandon those who had saved her. She would stand by them, no matter the consequences, because humans had shown her the meaning of loyalty. The Odyssey glided through a quiet sector of space, its hull gleaming faintly in the distant starlight. The T-car had retreated, but their influence lingered like a shadow over the galaxy. Every transmission, every observation, carried whispers of humans who refused to back down, humans who protected what they saved, humans whose loyalty defied logic. The alien girl stood on the observation deck, her pale blue skin glowing softly under the ship's lights. She had changed immensely since she first awoke aboard the human ship. She moved with confidence, her gaze sharp, her voice steady. She had learned to read humans, to anticipate their actions, and to understand the principles that guided them. She had also learned the most important lesson. Humans did not fight for themselves. They fought for those they cared about, and once bound, they never let go. Jerk approached quietly, resting a hand on the railing beside her. "The galaxy is watching," he said, "more than you know." "I understand now. We don't need rules to force loyalty. We act because it's right, and that makes us stronger than anyone expects." "They want her back," Kale said, tension creeping into his voice. "And they're not alone. They're bringing support fleets from multiple sectors. This could turn into full-scale conflict." "I will help," she said. "I will stand with you." They worked with efficiency, repairing minor damage, calibrating shields, and coordinating defensive maneuvers. Every crew member moved with purpose, each action reinforcing the others. They were humans, and humans thrived on loyalty and unity. The coalition sent a communication. The voice of the lead officer, calm yet commanding, filled the bridge. "Captain Lorne, the girl must be returned immediately. Resistance is unacceptable. Any opposition will be met with force." "I choose to stay. I owe my life to him. I will not leave." The coalition attempted persuasion, offering alliances, rewards, and promises of security. The girl considered each proposal, her eyes flicking to Jerk and the humans around her. Then she shook her head. No, I stay. Humans protect. I protect them too. The girl's choice was not just personal. It was a demonstration of the most dangerous truth about humanity. Their courage and loyalty could not be bargained with, ignored, or destroyed. Once humans decided to protect someone, they became unstoppable. The coalition fleet hesitated. Observers had expected compliance, not resistance. They had anticipated negotiation, not moral defiance. And here they were, confronted with humans who would not yield and an alien girl who had voluntarily bound herself to them. The girl took a deep breath. "I stand with them," she said again. "Always." Humans did not need panic. They relied on each other. And that was enough. The coalition finally made a critical mistake. They targeted one of the smaller human vessels accompanying the Odyssey, believing it would force compliance. But humans reacted immediately, rescuing the crew, maneuvering with precision, and neutralizing the threat without unnecessary damage. The coalition realized too late that humans did not act for self-interest. They acted for each other. And once bound, they never let go. The alien girl watched every move, her understanding deepening. Humans did not need fear to motivate them. They did not need contracts or hierarchy. Their strength was in their loyalty, their courage, and their moral clarity. And she had chosen to be part of that. As the confrontation de-escalated, observers from distant species began recording the events. Stories of human courage, restraint, and loyalty spread rapidly. The galaxy, long dismissive of humanity, began to see a different picture. Humans were not weak, expendable, or naive. They were formidable in ways others had never understood. In the days that followed, the T-Car and Coalition fleets withdrew, forced to acknowledge the humans' determination and the girl's voluntary choice. The Odyssey continued its journey, carrying both humans and the alien girl safely through the sector. The girl stood on the observation deck once more, her gaze fixed on the stars. She thought of her people, her culture, and the traditions she had defied. But she also thought of humans, their courage, their unity, their unwavering commitment to those they saved. She realized now that humans were not just survivors. They were protectors, teachers, and allies in ways that could change the course of the galaxy. Jerk joined her quietly. "You've done more than you know," he said. "Your choice has shown the galaxy that humans are not to be ignored, that our courage and loyalty are real and dangerous to those who underestimate them. And one day, everyone will see it." One life saved had started a chain reaction, revealing the true strength of humanity. The alien girl had chosen freely, and in doing so, she had helped humanity demonstrate what the galaxy had underestimated for centuries. Humans protect what they save, they stand together, and once they decide to fight for someone, nothing, not threats, not politics, not overwhelming force, can sway them. And as the girl looked out at the endless stars, she understood something profound. She was no longer just a child of the T-Car. She was a witness, a participant, and a bridge between two worlds. She had made a choice, and that choice had already begun to reshape the galaxy. Jerk glanced at her, a quiet pride in his eyes. "You've learned well," he said. "And humanity will never forget you." She knew that the bond she shared with humans could never be broken, and that together they had changed something in the galaxy, a truth the universe would not soon forget. Humans had proven themselves once again, not through conquest or domination, but through courage, loyalty, and the refusal to abandon someone who had been saved. And the galaxy slowly was beginning to take notice.